shoe selection, working on the principle that a shoe should be as light as is possible to allow the horse to perform its task. And when you consider that the hoof capsule is totally capable of supporting the horse's weight, and it's only 3/8 of an inch wide, so any extra steel we put on that horse's foot, with the misbegotten theory that we're giving the horse support, is really only detracting from the horse's ability to perform like an athlete. So we must once again consider that the shoe should be as light as is possible to allow the horse to perform its task. And in that, there's several different types of shoes. Depending on the country you're working in, we can have a flat shoe. It's fairly wide. Working in rocky country, this isn't a bad idea. But once again, if a horse is going to bruise through being working on stone, it's going to bruise right in the middle of its sole. It'll never bruise right out to the outside edge. So once again, do we really need a shoe that's that wide? Plus the fact that this shoe, being flat, is a square profile on the inside edge. And if we happen to go across any clay or mud or black soil, this shoe will bog up and become completely bogged up with dirt or clay, and that square inside edge will ensure that hoof remains bogged up. So that's a disadvantage of a flat shoe with a square inside edge. This is a concave shoe, and it's a concave working shoe, and you can see it's fairly high profile, fairly thick through there. There's a lot of steel in it, and for a horse with a hoof this size, which is about a size 5, that's not a bad weight shoe. But once again, it's only a working shoe. It's not a competitive shoe. There's too much weight in the shoe. The inside edge is concave, and so that's a huge advantage as far as the horse working. It's that concave inside edge stops the dirt from sticking in there as the horse lifts its leg. That beveled inside edge will more than likely kick the dirt out, release the dirt. But I question whether that weight of shoe is even necessary on a hoof that's that big. The ideal weight shoe is a lightweight concave, high carbon, so it's very tensile strong. It's got a nice concavity to the inside, but you can see the width of it varies quite dramatically than the other concave shoe. There's really no need for that extra width in the branch of the shoe, because it only has to sit on the hoof capsule, which is basically 3/8 of an inch thick. So this nice little lightweight concave shoe is really just a wearing surface, a gripping surface on the edge of the natural hoof wall, ideal for competitive work. When the hoof is prepared correctly and balanced correctly, you will find the ideal front hoof shape is exactly the same shape as that shoe there, apart from the fact that the heels need to be resolved a little bit. The horseshoe manufacturer doesn't make these ideal to suit every horse. He gives us a bit of an option of now fitting this shoe. You'll find that a hoof correctly prepared properly, the outer edge here is going to be the same shape as that shoe. And the nail holes will then line up precisely on the white line of the hoof where we're going to put the nail. The only bit of resolving it needs to do by way of shaping this factory made shoe to individually fit a hoof is to correct these heels and fit these shoes around to the actual hoof shape. And we do that simply by this, by putting the shoe over the cogs of the anvil and lining it up so that it rests against the first cog with as much of the heel overhanging as you need, and if you hit the shoe there, it will bend on that second cog like this. So you'll see the difference here now in the way I've shaped that heel around compared with the one that I haven't. This is the ideal heel shape to fit that hoof. And it's going to end up a perfectly symmetrical shape with the correct amount of turn in the heel to fit the heel bowl. We'll do this other heel now. By using the turning cams on the anvil, place the shoe there where you want it to bend precisely on that cam and hit the shoe here. So you get this ideal shape here. Then we need to level the shoe properly and then set the toe clip back at the correct angle for the front of the hoof before we fit it onto the hoof. So place the shoe on the anvil and always hit on the top of the arch. Wherever the shoe is bent, you'll see, you touch it there with the hammer, it wriggles, it wobbles. So just until you can hear it go down flat and the shoe stops bucking or jumping. And the same with the other. So the shoe goes flat. And now all we need to do is to set that toe clip back a little. So now we go on the nose of the anvil, hold the shoe up like that, and just tap that toe clip back a fraction. So that it sets back to the angle of the front of the hoof wall. The front hoof is perfectly round because that's where they carry most of their weight. A hind foot, when you think about it, has to be diamond shaped. And if you look at the white line in the hoof after you've prepared the sole, you'll find out that it is basically this shape. The reason for that is the horse is a flight animal and it requires a pointy toe for traction. It requires a straight sidewall on the hind feet so that the horse can spin sideways and take off and get away from the lions and the tigers and the bad-tempered farriers. So bear that in mind. That's not a bad shape. The only thing here is that the heels need to be resolved to, but that's pretty close to it for that type of shoe. But every single brand of shoe we get varies. And this is another machine-made shoe, and you can see it's nothing like a diamond shape. So to resolve this, before you even go to the hoof, you know that has to be flattened there, and I do that automatically before I even go to the horse because it saves a lot of time. And I wish the horseshoe manufacturer would do this and save me and my farriers friends a lot of time on the anvil. So place the shoe across the anvil and you're going to hit it on top here. And take that curve out and make it straight. Do the same on the other side with the toe clip around about the edge of the anvil. Hold the shoe there. And you end up with that shape. But now it's too wide. So we place the shoe on the anvil again and tap in to the required width of the hoof. A little bit more. So you've got the required width that you're after with the lateral medial balance. So then the only thing left to resolve is to set the heel. By going down here, the same as we did with the front shoe, and resolve the heel bend. This way here, so we've resolved the curve of the heel bend. Do the same on this side. That fashion. And then flatten the shoe, level it off, and then set the toe clip this way. So there is basically a good shaped hind shoe and a good shaped front shoe. And you can see the diamond shape of the back shoe compared with the round oval shape of the front shoe. As a professional farrier, I've practiced the art of being very time efficient over many, many years to not only save time in my professional working day, but also get it right for the horse. And when you think about it, the guys that invented the machine that made this horseshoe so that they would get rich and we'd be happy, have studied one thing in a horse's hoof, and that's obviously the shape of not just the bottom of the hoof, but the shape of the coronary band. And so they've made a machine that'll cut a piece of steel off and bend it around to make a horseshoe, and then punch it, etc., etc. But what they've studied was the average shape of the average good coronary band to come up with this shape. So what I've done for many years is practice the art of looking at the coronary band of the horse's hoof and predicting and playing little games to predict what size that horse's hoof should be, and going and selecting a pair of shoes and then pre-shaping them to what I know should be the eventual shape of the bottom of the hoof, with consideration of the white line, the absence of flares, and having a balanced hoof. And so I could predictably say, with a lot of accuracy, fair bit of accuracy, that that'll be a size 3 shoe. In a concave, I like the concave shoes, so I go get a concave shoe. And then the horse lifts its leg up out of the dirt. I say, wow, look at the flares in this hoof. Well, I know I've got to correct that anyway. But when I've finished correcting that, I will have a size 3 shoe which will fit that hoof 90% correct, thanks to the horseshoe manufacturer's input in manufacturing a machine-made shoe. And as you'll see there, the only bit of alteration he's left me to have to do is the heels back here, where I just simply have to roll those heels in a little bit, and I've got a shoe that will fit onto that horse's hoof very quickly and very accurately. It is worthwhile practicing this art of predicting the eventual size and shape of a shoe as a professional, to save time, to save wear and tear on your body under the horse, and also to get a lot more personal satisfaction out of getting it right. There is little point in spending a lot of time on the anvil banging the heck out of a horseshoe if we're going to not trim and dress and balance this hoof properly to begin with. In fact, if we don't do that and we don't address these flares, we're going to end up with a shape similar to that, where you can see this horseshoe has been belted out and made into the most gross shape to fit a flare in the hoof that should never have been there. And I guarantee you this horse's hoof fitted perfectly a correct factory-made shoe when I'd finished trimming it. The horse was crippled with these shoes on. And when I'd finished dressing it, it took a standard shoe, the next size up on this one, but a standard shape with just the only necessity I had was to resolve the heels here. There was no flare left in the hoof. So there was no need to spend an inordinate amount of time banging the shoe out to fit a flare that should never have been there.